And I'll tell you this right now, if things weren't already bad enough for Bryce Young, this just made it 10 times worse. You can't make it up. This was quite literally his worst nightmare, and it's coming true. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope you're having a great start to your week. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And man, oh man, we got a new and not so good update on Mr. Bryce Young. It is more than safe to say it's not looking good for Bryce, and that's for multiple reasons we're going to get into in today's video. We're not doing no intro, none of that. I don't got time to waste. You don't got time to waste either. I say we get straight into it. If you have no idea what has transpired within the past week, I guess you've been living under a rock, but let me give you a brief summary. Well, I say it's been transpiring the past week, but technically and really it's been transpiring the past year or so. And that is no other than the Carolina Panthers. They traded a ton of their players and picks to the Bears so they could draft Bryce Young #1, which at the time I didn't think it was a great idea, but who cares? You got your guy, you got the #1 overall pick, you got Bryce. Hindsight's 2020, but we all know this. In the NFL, you are only going to go as far as your quarterback can take you. He is the most important person on that team and franchise. I put it to you like this. If you were to tell a GM, of course you can't look into the future, but if you were to tell one, hey, this guy in the up-and-coming draft, he's going to change your franchise for the next 15, 20 years, and he's going to have a Patrick Mahomes type of career, he'd dang near trade the entire team because in reality, it's worth it. But, and I have a really big but, that's the problem. You don't know if they're going to pan out that way. More times than not, they don't. You can just hope and pray that they work out, and that's what the Panthers were doing with Bryce. They put a lot into him. I'm going to say yet again, they didn't just draft Bryce Young #1. They traded up to that spot and gave away picks and players. What happens after that? Well, to make an extremely long story short, the Panthers sucked, and I mean they sucked last year. They were abysmal, and we all chalked it up to, and when I say we, I'm talking about me included and everybody in the media. We just said, oh yeah, it's the offensive line. They're terrible. They can't block. They're giving Bryce Young 0 time. Bryce Young doesn't have any weapons. The coaching's awful. The GM's awful. Everybody. We was blaming everybody but Bryce. Nobody's going to write off a rookie quarterback who won the freaking Heisman Trophy and was phenomenal at Alabama after one bad season with a not-so-good franchise. I think at the point with that last year, it was bad. Fast forward time into this season, you could argue and say it was even worse. In the first 2 games for the Panthers this season, they got blown out by the Saints 47-10 and really blown out by the Chargers 26-3. More importantly, though, one of the biggest headlines is Bryce Young was struggling yet again. Against the Saints, he was 13 for 30, not good, 160, 0 touchdowns, 2 INTs, a QBR of 12.9. Not what you like to see, and against the Chargers, wasn't too much better. 18 for 26, 84 yards, only 84 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 INT, QBR of 6.2. We were only 2 games into the season, and then out of nowhere, and this was shocking news even to Bryce himself, the Panthers announced, hey, we are benching Bryce Young, and we're starting Andy Dalton. This started up a huge, and I mean a huge controversy for obvious reasons. You're benching your #1 overall pick a year and 2 games into his career. You got to give him some more time. Or at least that's what we thought, right? Even me myself, I tweeted this out. Bryce Young being benched for Andy freaking Dalton is laughable. Panthers had the worst sports organization I've seen in a while. I don't mind showing you guys that, and I don't mind telling you guys when I'm wrong because I was wrong in this situation. We'll come back to that tweet in just a second, a little foreshadowing. Just remember that. When Bryce Young got benched, I didn't agree with it, and let me explain why. I didn't think Bryce Young was the problem. I've been keeping up with him ever since he was in high school playing for Mater Dei, dominating the competition. He was a 5-star recruit, and I shouldn't even have to tell you what happened at Alabama. He was phenomenal, one of the best quarterbacks in college football history. And yes, that's right, I said college football history, not just Alabama history. He diced up one of the best defenses of all time in Georgia with just Jamison Williams. To go on top of that, he won the Heisman Trophy. Enough said. This guy was a beast. Although he doesn't look like a beast, he's only roughly, what is he, like 5'9", on a good day 5'10". On the field, he was dominating all the guys who look like beasts. And he's never really had a bad game or a bad stretch in his career where you even question how good he is. So me just looking at some pattern recognition, I didn't think there was no chance Bryce Young was a problem. And I think a lot of people now are just hopping on the hate Bryce Young hype train and bandwagon because of everything that has happened in the past couple of days. Of course, now it's easy to say, oh yeah, I knew Bryce Young wasn't going to be good. I knew he wasn't going to pan out, when things are looking down for him. But moving along here, this most recent weekend, the Panthers, they played the Raiders. And I think a lot of people were tuning into this game or just keeping up with it for reasons like myself. We wanted to see how the Panthers offense was going to work without Bryce Young and with Andy Dalton. And good gosh almighty, Andy Dalton looked like prime Tom Brady back there. I'll show you his stats before we go any farther. If you didn't watch this game, this really paints the picture perfectly. 26 for 37, 319 yards with 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a QBR of 87.1. He played almost about as flawless as you can play, and it's even more amazing when you think about it. He didn't have a warm-up game. No, this was his first game of the year. And I'll tell you this right now. If things weren't already bad enough for Bryce Young, this just made it 10 times worse. You can't make it up. This was quite literally his worst nightmare, and it's coming true. You don't want to see your teammates fail, but of course, if you're in Bryce Young's shoes, how are you looking at this? How are you thinking? Oh, they want to bench me? Huh, that's fine. Put out another quarterback and you'll see how terrible our offense really is. And what do the Panthers do? They say, okay, we'll put out a new quarterback, see if we can spark up some magic on offense. And saying they sparked up some magic might be understating it. They were like one of the best offenses in the league. The best way to describe it, it was night and day difference. And if you've been keeping up with Bryce Young, you would know his mental state hasn't been the best, and he's been feeling down on himself, rightfully so. He hasn't been playing good. All he's done his entire life from Pee-wee football up until now is win. He's a winner, and now he's losing nonstop, and that affects you. You start questioning how good you are, and when you got your backup quarterback go out there and look like prime Tom Brady, you legitimately start asking questions like, dang, am I not good enough for the NFL? Do I just suck now? What's going on? And these are real conversations that athletes start to ask themselves. If his confidence wasn't destroyed before that Raiders game, it most certainly is destroyed now. It's got to be at an all-time low. I mean, you watch 40-year-old freaking Andy Dalton go out there and play out of his mind with the same weapons and same team that you can't even get a first down with. And we haven't even talked about this, so obviously if the Panthers are trying to move on from Bryce Young, before the game, his trade value, it wasn't the greatest, but it was decent probably. But now, I don't know if you could trade him for a Gatorade vending machine. Think about it. If you were interested in trading for Bryce Young, the only argument you need is, oh yeah, I saw your backup quarterback and do 10 times better than him, so yeah, we're not going to be giving you much for him. I don't know if you would have got much for him before the Andy Dalton game against the Raiders, but after it, yeah, you're not getting much. As bad as it seems right now, believe it or not, it can actually get worse, and let me explain. If Andy Dalton goes out here these next couple of weeks and continues to play just half as good as this, yeah, it's going to look bad for Bryce. Because then at that point, you won't be able to chalk it up to, oh, well, Andy Dalton just had a fluky one-hit wonder performance. No. All the Panthers were missing was a decent quarterback. And the better the Panthers look with Andy Dalton or whoever's in there, like I said, the worse it makes Bryce Young look. Some people may jump the gun on this, but I don't think his career's over. It's way too early to even start that conversation. How old is he? He's only, what is he, like 20, 21 years old, maybe at max 22? You know what? Let's do this and answer this question. What's next for Bryce Young? As long as Andy Dalton does not get hurt, there's no way Bryce Young starts or even plays in our game this season. Andy Dalton is the much, and I mean much better option. He had that Panthers offense looking smooth, man. And by the way, shout out to Andy Dalton. He played a fabulous game. This isn't me trying to knock him in this video. It's more so we're here to talk about Bryce Young and what's going on with him. So since Bryce Young's not going to play the remainder of this year for the Panthers more than likely, I think what has to happen next for his career to have any chance is they got to trade him. He's got to go elsewhere. This is one of those classic examples where a young man just needs a fresh start. I've seen this in my everyday life. Sometimes kids in high school, they need to move schools. They need to move cities, something like that. It's just not working out there. He has terrible mojo. And I think best case scenario for Bryce is he goes to a team that already has a veteran quarterback. One thing that comes to my mind is the way the Packers did Jordan Love with Aaron Rodgers. You had Jordan Love sitting behind Rodgers, learning the game for a couple years, and by the time it was his time to be the guy, he was ready. I think that'd be great for Bryce Young. Now, where would he go and learn? I don't know, but anywhere but Carolina is good for him at this point. Also, too, this just popped into my mind. Maybe the Titans, because Will Levis, he's not looking too good. Maybe Bryce could do good in that system, at least give him some quarterback competition. You just never know. The cliche one that everybody brings up is Miami, and we've already talked about that. Of course, I think Bryce would do good in that system. Well, Miami just needs a quarterback at this point, and all the people saying Tua needs to retire. He's not going to retire, dude. If you think Tua's going to retired, you're not competitive and you never play competitive sports. This is going to sound dumb when I say this, but it's the truth. Do you know what competitors like doing in this life? Competing. There's a reason when these athletes retire, quote unquote, they don't retire and sit at home and play video games all day. You know what they do? They either get into coaching, they golf every day, they do something where they're competing. I kind of like this one. What do y'all think about this? Let me know in the comments. the Cowboys. You got Dak Prescott, although he's not a veteran. I think Bryce Young can learn a lot from them, and he'd have a good time over there being around a winning team and winning culture. And I already know some Cowboy haters are going to run to the comments, Matt, the Cowboys suck, man. They're not a guy. Look, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but they're better than the Panthers currently. And you know what I just thought of? I know this is random, but Trevor Lawrence has been a below-average quarterback in the NFL. He's leading the league in turnovers since he got into the league, and nobody criticizes him. What's up with that? I'm not trying to sit up here and convince you Bryce Young's better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying, why is Trevor Lawrence getting a free pass? Are we not too sure that if you inserted a new team on that Jaguars team, they wouldn't be better? I said insert a new team on the Jaguars team. Matt, you freaking idiot. Insert a new quarterback. You get what I'm trying to say. NFL quarterback talk is always really interesting to me, so maybe we'll talk more about this in the future. If you want to see some more NFL videos, let me know in the comment section, and also let me know your thoughts down below. But